Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Dungeons & Dragons Homebrew builds. Today we'll be making a build of Moonlight, or the class that I will be referring to it as, the Fist of Khonshu. Now of course, as has been the pattern, the custom for the last couple of overviews, every time I'll make an overview of a character, I'll discuss their general background and history, what makes them so cool, why I like them, stuff like that. And then I'll go on to make a Dungeons & Dragons homebrew build of them. I'll try to replicate them as best as possible from what I've learned in my overview, or from what I know in making my overview, to turn them into a class for Dungeons & Dragons. Today we'll be giving Moonlight that same treatment, we'll be continuing the pattern, and not much else is needed in terms of explanation, so we can get to the intro, and then get to the build. Cue the intro.
Why do I feel like I linger between the words to say the words to remember?
So, starting off our class today, the Fist of Khonshu will be discussing his hit points. For his hit die, we'll be using 1d10 per Fist of Khonshu level. He's not one of the strongest superhumans in the Marvelverse. He's generally a street-level fighter, something similar to Batman. If you need any more information as to his capability or background, I highly suggest you check out my overview video. That should give you everything you need to know about Moonlight if you don't already know who he is before watching this video. However, if you already know who he is and how strong he is, a D10 is a good place to put him in terms of the fact that he is superhuman, but he's definitely not a heavy hitter of Marvel. For his proficiencies, of course, being a, weapons-using, martial arts-using, Batman-esque character, he's similar to Batman or the Punisher or Deadpool or any of those characters. He'll be having proficiency in light armor and medium armor, because he's used Kevlar armor in the past. He's also gone with just spandex and such, like a superhero outfit. And he'll be proficient in simple and martial weapons. He's been shown to use things as simple as clubs and truncheons, or something as deadly and precise as swords, bows, and arrows, things of that nature. Saving throws for the Fist of Khonshu will be Dexterity and Constitution. He's a very dexterous fighter that jumps around. He's proficient in martial arts, so he knows where to place his strikes. He's a fast fighter. He's quick on his feet. He's shown multiple times to be able to slice through or dodge bullets. And he's got the constitution to take really heavy hits and just keep trucking on. So, for skills available for this class, we'll be picking 2 from a list of the following: Acrobatics, Athletics, Insight, Intimidation, Perception, Sleight of Hand, and Stealth. So the skill choices there are pretty self-explanatory. To be the type of hero he is, of course you'd have to have things like Acrobatics and Athletics. As for why I chose the others, of course, to be a fighter like him, you'd have to be quite insightful. You'd have to be able to figure out people's physical and psychological weaknesses and use them against him. Of course, he is a very intimidating fighter. One of his best quotes, I'll put it on screen as I'm discussing, one of his best quotes easily exemplifies why he's such an intimidating fighter and how he uses that intimidation in psychological warfare for his advantage. Perception would also come from the fact that he's a perceptive person. He's able to pick out weaknesses and things. He's able to notice certain reactions to certain things and use those things that he's noticed to his advantage. And it's also incredibly difficult to sneak up on somebody like the Fist of Khonshu, like Moonlight. So, of course, we'll be giving him the option to become quite perceptive. And finally, we choose Sleight of Hand and Stealth as 2 skills he can choose from, due to the fact that he is a very stealthy person by nature. Now, he makes no effort to hide his form. He wants to intimidate people by his form, but he has shown many a times that he can be quite stealthy and slip past even the greatest of foes. So, now comes the interesting part of this class. This class has access to many class features. You won't be getting a class feature for every single level, but you will be getting a class feature for many of the levels, and sometimes you will get 2 or more class features for one level. So, he definitely has a large array of different class features. We'll be going over what they do and when you get them now. Starting at level 1, you gain access to the class features Blessing of Khonshu, Split Mind, and Ankh of Khonshu. At level 2, you'll gain Strength of the Full Moon and Moonlight. At level 3, you'll be gaining class features Martial Arts, Weapon Mastery, and Rider of the Moon. At 4th level, you won't be gaining a new class feature, but you will achieve your first ability score improvement. At level 5, the class feature The Spectre's Arsenal is achieved, and you gain your first benefit of this class feature at 5th level as well, Moon Knight's Armor, another class feature tied to the Spectre's Arsenal class feature. At level 6, you gain a new implement from the Spectre's Arsenal, the Crescent Darts. Coming in at 7th level, we gain access to Nunchucks from the Spectre's Arsenal, and a new class feature called Lunar Eye. 8th level is another example of gaining access to an ability score improvement, but no new class feature. At 9th level, we gain access to the Adamantium Truncheon from the Spectre's Arsenal, and Kyoshujitsu, a new class feature. At 10th level, we gain the class feature Mind of a God, and a new implement from the Spectre's Arsenal, the Bolas. At 11th level, we gain access to the Spectre's Arsenal's Blowgun, and at 12th level, we gain a new ability score improvement and an energy shield from the Spectre's Arsenal. At 13th level, we receive a Gauntlet Upgrade from the Spectre's Arsenal, and at 14th level, we receive Arquero de la Luna, you'll have to pardon me for butchering my Spanish there, a new implement from the Spectre's Arsenal, as well as another class feature, No Pain, No Gain. Coming near the end here, we have level 15, Crescent of the Moon, another item from the Spectre's Arsenal, and a new class feature in Tides of the Moon. At level 16, we gain our next ability score improvement, and a new item from the Spectre's Arsenal class feature, Travel and Trap. At 17th level, we gain the Sansetsu Kon from the Spectre's Arsenal, and at level 18, we gain access to Grenades from the Spectre's Arsenal. At level 19, we receive our last ability score improvement, and a vehicle in the form of the Angel Wing as a class feature. And finally, to top us off at level 20, we gain access to a special attack through a class feature, Lunar Eclipse. So, you guys now know the long and short of it. Now it's time to talk about what each of these class features actually does. Starting off with the Blessing of Khonshu. Khonshu, the god of the moon, has bestowed you with his blessing. So long as you receive its blessing, you can access all of your class features, though at a cost. Your mental state becomes unstable and more geared to harsh justice. So to emulate the mind-breaking of what the Blessing of Khonshu had done to Mark Spectre, it made his DID, his dissociative identity disorder, even worse, and added a new personality, one of an unstable and volatile vigilante, to the mix. So long as you receive Khonshu's blessing and you're not in an area where you can't contact a god, similarly to what a paladin or cleric would do, then you can access all of your class features, but regardless of what you choose for your alignment is changed to lawful neutral. It's also worth noting for role-playing purposes that you have a tendency for violence and going overboard when it comes to people who are evil or who you perceive as having done wrong. If for whatever reason you enter an area where you cannot receive this blessing, your alignment will return to normal, and you will no longer have this insanity breaching your mind, but unfortunately you will not have access to any of your class features unless they are from the Spectre's Arsenal. And even then, you cannot gain new items from the Spectre's Arsenal until you have regained the Blessing of Konshu. Now the DM can choose to do whatever he wants to do with that blessing and, have it interact with the story in any way he wishes, but it's worth noting that it's directly tied to every single class feature you will receive. Next up is the class feature Split Mind. Due to your blessing from Khonshu, your mind is altered and warped. Every complete cycle of the moon, you must make a wisdom saving throw of DC 4 plus your Fist of Khonshu level, or your mental identity will be changed completely. If your identity is changed, at the next cycle, you can choose to maintain your current identity or change to a past identity. So in lower levels, the influence of Khonshu shouldn't be as strong, and it gets progressively stronger the stronger you get. Khonshu starts to invade your mind more and take up more residence, which makes your Fist of Khonshu class, your Moon Knight class, so to speak, it would make it stronger. So, you can either choose to resist the development of your dissociative identity disorder, in which your identity begins to change. You can choose to resist it and keep who you are, or, physically you will be the same person, but if you fail the saving throw, your mental identity will be completely changed. And of course, it wouldn't be any fun if you're basically on a roulette of random character builds for the same physical person. So of course, there is the option that if you succeed, you can go back to a past identity. So maybe you failed the first saving throw, but you succeeded in the second. Well, you can go back to being the person you were one moon cycle ago. Next we have Ankh of Konshu. An Ankh that channels the power of Konshu. This Ankh warns you of danger in a similar sense to Danger Sense, the Barbarian class feature. You gain an uncanny sense of when things nearby aren't as they should be, giving you an edge when you dodge away from danger. You have advantage on dexterity saving throws against effects that you can see, such as traps and spells. To gain this benefit, you can't be blinded, deafened, or incapacitated. Though it is of note, the Ankh works while you are both blinded and deafened. This Ankh can also be used as a club with normal club statistics, except it does radiant damage instead of bludgeoning. So it seems pretty straightforward. The Ankh pretty much gives you something akin to a spider sense, where you don't necessarily have to be aware of the danger in any way, shape, or form. You can be both blinded and deaf, and the Ankh will mystically let you know that you are in danger and give you advantage on dexterity saving throws against effects and spells and traps and the like. And if you want to use it as a weapon, you can do that too. You can club people with it, and of course nothing would set it apart from a normal club except for the fact that it is a holy relic of the god of the moon for Egypt, so that's why I have it doing radiant damage instead of just normal bludgeoning damage like a normal club would. Next we have Strength of the Full Moon. I was actually pretty proud of creating this class feature myself. I thought it was pretty creative and it was on brand for the character. Depending on the phase of the cycle of the moon, your strength grows and wanes. During the phases of the moon, your strength modifier is affected in the following ways. A new moon will give you a -2 to your strength modifier. A waxing crescent will give you a -1 to your strength modifier. A first quarter moon will not affect your strength modifier. A waxing gibbous gives you a +1 to your strength modifier. A full moon gives you a +2 to your strength modifier. A waning gibbous gives you a +1 to your strength modifier. A third quarter moon will not affect your strength modifier. And a waning crescent will give you a -1 to your strength modifier. Furthermore, at level 4, when the moon is full, you can activate the full moon buff as a bonus action. Once active, you cannot take damage or be adversely affected in any way. This can only be used once per full cycle of the moon and only lasts for 1 round of combat. So of course, you get the basic strength boost from the phases of the moon. The more apparent the moon is from your planet, Faerun, Earth, wherever your campaign is taking place. Depending on how visible the moon is, the more strength you'd gain. And this doesn't stack in case you're playing in a world that has multiple moons. It's just based off of whether any at all of the moon is visible. So of course, a new moon would take a toll on your strength as there is no visible moon. And a full moon would give you a nice healthy buff to your strength. This is of course to replicate the fact that Moon Knight grows stronger depending on the phase of the moon, or weaker depending on the phase of the moon. And of course, that ability you gain at the 4th level from this class feature is pretty powerful. It is, for all intents and purposes, as close to invincibility as a mortal man can get. But just remember that 1, this is a powerful buff from a powerful god who is, for all intents and purposes, using you as an avatar, which would in theory make you a demigod of some kind. And of course it only lasts for 1 round, and can only be used once per full cycle of the moon. Powerful as it may be, I made sure it came with balances. Next up is Moonlight. The power of the moon and Khonshu's vitality flows through you. At 2nd level, when exposed directly to Moonlight, you heal for 8 plus your wisdom modifier points of health per 5 seconds of exposure. At 4th level, this is increased to 14 plus your wisdom modifier points of health. And at 8th level, it is increased to 20 plus your wisdom modifier points of health. I suppose it's a little known fact, but Moon Knight actually has the ability to heal minor injuries and wounds when in direct exposure to the Moonlight. So of course, this is a direct reference and conversion of that ability. Next up is Martial Arts. I had to edit it a little bit, just like I had for the Baki characters, but of course, I didn't have to edit it nearly as much, considering, well, he also uses weapons similarly to what you'd expect from a monk in Dungeons & Dragons. So, at 4th level, your practice of martial arts gives you mastery of combat styles that use unarmed strikes and monk weapons, which are short swords and any simple melee weapons that don't have the two-handed or heavy property. You gain the following benefit while you are unarmed or wielding only monk weapons. You can use dexterity instead of strength for the attack and damage rolls of your unarmed strikes and monk weapons. You can roll a d4 in place of the normal damage you use for unarmed strikes or monk weapons. When you use the attack action in an unarmed strike or a monk weapon on your turn, you can make 1 unarmed strike as a bonus action. For example, if you take the attack action and attack with a quarterstaff, you can also make an unarmed strike as a bonus action, assuming you haven't already taken a bonus action this turn. Pretty clear cut and basically the same as it is in the actual Dungeons & Dragons game. And to represent his mastery of weapons, we have, well, Weapon Mastery. Due to the extensive training in weapons of all kinds, you gain the Weapon Master feat. A pretty clear-cut class feature. It's not extraordinary or all-powerful, but it can sure be useful. You know, you gain a free feat, so that is definitely not a bad thing. And here we have Rider of the Moon. Your mastery of combat doesn't end with unarmed combat and weaponry. You are proficient in the use of all forms of vehicles. So that means land vehicles, sea vehicles, regardless of what type of vehicle it is or what terrain it drives on, you are proficient in any checks the DM should call for you to roll while you are manipulating that vehicle. And next up is probably the biggest class feature in this entire class, the Spectre's Arsenal. As you grow, you slowly start to gain access to an arsenal of weapons and armor befitting a Fist of Khonshu. And speaking of armor gained from this class feature, we have Moon Knight's armor from the Spectre's Arsenal. At 5th level, you gain Moon Knight's armor, a full set of medium Kevlar, and Kevlar would be chainmail, armor with a face mask and a cape with a hood, with the cape acting as a glider. And basically what the glider does is, as a reaction, you can use the glider to give yourself a featherfall effect with no descent range limit. The suit also has a two-way radio that acts similarly to a sending stone, but it isn't magic and cannot be used across planes or underground. Its maximum range is 8 miles. At 8th level, the armor is upgraded to adamantium, or of course adamantine armor, and dart launcher gauntlets are added, as well as a built-in flashlight or torches if you want to keep it medieval. Dart launchers are launchers built into the gauntlets of your suit. So long as you have the ammunition, which of course is darts, you can use a bonus action to fire 1 dart out of each gauntlet, so 2 darts per bonus action if you have the ammunition. You are proficient in these weapons as well. The flashlights can either be normal flashlights charged by electricity or torches, depending on how your DM rules. Regardless, it does not require a hand to wield these torches. So everything there is pretty clear-cut and simple. We have Moon Knight's upgrade from Kevlar to adamantium, we have his built-in flashlights, his dart launchers, his glider, everything's in there. It's pretty much Moon Knight's armor, the quintessential armor that Moon Knight is known for. And speaking of things that Moon Knight is known for, next up from the Spectre's arsenal is the Crescent Darts. A dart in the shape of a crescent moon made of adamantium. These darts are sharper and can slice through any defense. These darts deal 2d4 piercing damage and ignore armor class bonuses given to the target by spells, armor, or shields. You are granted 4 of these and can craft 1 after 8 hours of work with the proper supplies. Adamantium is required. At 12th level, you can throw crescent darts by hand or launch them out of your gauntlets. So of course, they're crescent darts, they're in the shape of a crescent moon. That's, on brand for the character. It's part of his whole theme being Moon Knight. He's literally the Knight of the Moon. But more into the point, these darts deal a little bit more damage. They deal 2d4 piercing damage. But the big thing is, since they're made out of adamantium, they ignore armor class bonuses. That's a big thing. They may not do a lot of damage, but these things can be super useful in a situation where you are fighting somebody just decked out with spells that have helped them boost their armor class, like Shield of Faith and whatever else have you, or somebody decked out in really powerful armor. If you're struggling to get past someone's armor class, you want to whip out these crescent darts. Now to start, you can only throw them, which sucks because that only means you can use 1 per turn. You can throw it as an attack action, deal your 2d4 piercing, and that's it. You can only start with 4. But of course you can make more. It would just take 8 hours of work and adamantium, which of course your DM will have to incorporate into the game, or else you're stuck with 4 and that's it. And I really hope your DM isn't that much of a hard ass. But there's a light shining in the darkness, which is pretty ironic because this guy's based off of the moon, so his whole deal is kind of the darkness. But at 12th level, you're able to shoot them out of your gauntlets instead of just throwing them by hand, which means you went from only being able to use 1 of these really good darts per turn to 2 with a bonus action. So next up is the Nunchucks from the Spectre's arsenal. A nunchaku, or a pair of short metal sticks connected by a rope or chain. Use the statistics for a club when using this weapon. At 14th level, you can make an attack twice with 1 attack action with no extra cost. So basically, until 14th level, for all intents and purposes, it's just a free club you can use. But what's pretty cool is at 14th level, you get an extra attack even if you haven't multi-classed and picked up the extra attack class feature from a different class. This nunchuck by itself basically allows you to use 2 attacks for the cost of 1 attack action. So you get this 2 for the price of 1 because you hit him with 1 nunchuck, then you swing it around and hit him with the other. Here we also have Lunar Eye. As an emissary of Khonshu, you can sense all the moon can see. You gain proficiency in perception wisdom checks. If you already have proficiency in perception wisdom checks, double the proficiency. So of course I just thought of this neat little class feature, and if I'm being entirely honest, it's inspired by the Tsukuyomi from Naruto. For those of you that don't know, towards the end of the series there is a dojutsu and an eye jutsu that allows Madara and Kaguya, 2 of the big bads of the series, to use the moon as an eyeball. Now of course they use this eyeball moon to hypnotize the people of Earth, but like I said, this is not that power converted into Dungeons & Dragons, it's just where I got the inspiration. Khonshu using the moon as his eye to see the world, and he, relays to his avatar what it is that he's seeing. I just thought that would be a pretty cool power, so that is what Lunar Eye is based off of, and that's what Lunar Eye does. Next we have Adamantium Truncheon from the Spectre's arsenal. One I thought was pretty nifty, and I think I did a pretty decent job of converting it. A small one-handed club made of adamantium that can bypass armor class bonuses from armor worn by the target. It deals 1d2 bludgeoning damage, and as a bonus action, it can be changed into a taser. As a taser, it deals 1d2 electric damage and no longer bypasses armor bonuses. But when a target is struck, they must pass a DC 20 Constitution saving throw or be paralyzed for 1 round of combat. Targets struck with the taser in water or holding/wearing metal take 2d2 electric damage, and the save is now 25. So everything in the explanation is pretty clear-cut. The Truncheon bypasses armor class bonuses because it's made of adamantium. It doesn't deal a whole lot of damage because it's a small one-handed club. Moon Knight's Truncheon can actually convert itself into a taser, so you can do that as a bonus action. And of course a taser is non-lethal, it only deals 50,000 volts. So it's specifically designed not to cause lethal damage, so of course it doesn't do a whole lot of damage to the person, but it is incredibly difficult to be hit by a taser and just kind of grit your teeth through it without even getting slightly affected. So of course it is a hard to pass check. It is a DC 25 Constitution saving throw, and if you're wearing anything that would conduct electricity, like if you're standing in water or if you're wearing metal, it does a little more damage and it's a little harder to stand up after being hit with 50,000 volts well conducted through your body. I mean, for all intents and purposes, it may very well be cooking your insides. Next we have Kyoshujitsu. I'm sure a few of you were wondering what this would end up being, and it is something relating to his mastery of martial arts. As a martial arts master, you know all pressure points to strike to achieve devastating results. When performing an unarmed strike, you can target a pressure point to attempt to put a target to sleep, stun or paralyze a target, or deal massive damage to a target. Resisting pressure point effects requires a DC 10 Constitution saving throw. So of course it's pretty clear cut and simple. Kyoshujitsu is the martial art of striking pressure points. Moonlight is proficient in the striking of pressure points, so he has the ability to strike your pressure points, or strike a target's pressure points, to put them to sleep, to stun or paralyze them, or to make his punches hurt even more. That being said, in real-world practical application, resisting the effects of a pressure point is actually pretty easy, so that's why it's only a DC 10 Constitution saving throw. Worst case scenario, you strike the pressure point, it does nothing, but you've still done the damage of an unarmed strike, which is more damage than normal because you do have martial arts. Next item gained from the Spectre's arsenal is the bola. A simple ranged weapon, the bola consists of a length of cord with weights on each end, or 3 to 6 weights tied to a center point. They are worth 5 gold pieces apiece, deal 1d4 bludgeoning damage on a successful hit, weigh 3 pounds, have a range of 20 to 60 feet, and are special thrown weapons. When thrown, it can grapple a target. A special ability of this weapon, when a large or smaller creature is hit by a bola, it is grappled until it is freed. A bola cannot grapple a creature that is formless. A creature can use its action to make a DC 10 strength check, freeing itself or another creature within its reach on a success. Dealing 5 slashing damage to the bola, which has an AC of 10, also frees the creature without harming it, ending the effect and destroying the bola. When you use an action, bonus action, or reaction to attack with a bola, you can make only one attack regardless of the number of attacks you can normally make. You are given 8 bolas to begin with from this class feature, and you can craft more by spending 5 gold pieces on weighted material, rope, and crafting. Making one requires all of these materials and 1 hour of work. So there's not much to discuss there. It's a bola. If you know what a bola is, this is exactly what it is, and if you don't know what a bola is, well, now you know. That's pretty clear cut, and there's not much to discuss there. Next we have Mind of a God. As Konshu resides within your mind, his influence has reached a high enough level that you now have advantage against any effect that attempts to affect your mind or mental state. So of course, now any saving throws you may make against the charm effect, against a brainwashing effect, against an illusory effect, a frightened effect, anything like that that tries to affect or disturb your mental state, you now have advantage because Khonshu basically acts like your Kurama. Not to mention Naruto again. I don't know why Naruto's being brought up so much in this video, but Naruto has always been immune to genjutsu, illusory effects in Naruto, because Kurama's been able to wake him up and tell him, hey stupid, you're under the effects of mind control. So Khonshu's basically going to do the same thing for your Fist of Khonshu Dungeons & Dragons character. Next up, we gain 4 brand new items from the Spectre's arsenal. A blowgun, energy shield, gauntlet upgrades, and Arquero de la Luna. First for the blowgun, it's pretty simple. A martial ranged weapon that deals 1 piercing damage at a range of 25 to 100 feet and weighs a pound. It's a loading, ranged weapon and requires the ammunition, which are blow dart needles, to use. Pretty simple and clear cut. For the energy shield, it's a powerful force field energy shield that helps to block and reduce damage. The shield requires no hands to wield, covers the whole body, provides a +2 bonus to armor class, and gives you resistance to all non-magical damage. It's a shield made out of pure energy, and it's supposed to be comparable to the vibranium that protects Captain America. So, of course, I made this a pretty decent shield. It gives the +2 like a normal shield. It pretty much pops out of your wrist and covers your body, if I remember correctly. So that's why it requires no hands to wield. And it gives you a resistance to all non-magical damage because, well, it's a shield made out of pure energy that's on par with vibranium. So you're probably going to need magic to bypass it. As for the Gauntlet Upgrade, the gauntlets of your Moon Knight's suit are now equipped with a net launcher and metal claws, so one hand will be like a Spider-Man web launcher, the other one will have Wolverine claws. You can now take a bonus action to launch a net out of one of your gauntlets, so long as you have the required ammunition, which can be a net or nets. Furthermore, due to your metal claw, even while you have nothing in your hand, you can make an unarmed strike as though you are wielding a short sword for your main hand. So you're probably seeing the picture on screen right now. Moon Knight is in possession of a gauntlet for his left hand that is basically a Spider-Man web launcher, and a gauntlet for his right hand that is basically Wolverine's claws. So with your offhand, you now have a net launcher, and for your main hand, you now have Wolverine claws. Pretty simple and clear cut. Finally, the one that I butcher every time I say it, Arquero de la Luna from the Spectre's arsenal. As a master marksman, you need the proper weapon to put these talents to good use. You now have a longbow with 50 arrows granted by Konshu. Just like the blowgun and the bolas, it's nothing particularly special, you're just granted a free weapon with some free ammo. Next class feature, no pain, no gain. You've been injured grievously before, but your drive for justice sustains you. You now have advantage against any pain-related saving throws. So I'm torn by this one. It's on brand because he's got like Punisher levels of endurance where he can just take so much punishment and damage and just keep trucking on. You know, he's got this like insane drive for justice, which of course it's literally driven from his insanity because of the blessing of Khonshu. But it's also incredibly niche, especially in Dungeons & Dragons. I can't think of a proper saving throw off the top of my head, but if you ever come across a situation where you are making a saving throw because it is somehow related to your pain, you can ask your Dungeon Master if it is a pain-related saving throw, if it would be classified as such, and this class feature would give you advantage on that saving throw. And getting ever closer to the end of the list, we have the Crescent of the Moon from the Spectre's arsenal. An Ivory Boomerang. This simple ranged weapon is a thrown tool, typically constructed by a flat aerofoil that is designed to spin about an axis perpendicular to the direction of its flight. A returning boomerang is designed to return to the thrower. Boomerangs have been historically used for hunting as well as a sport and entertainment. It is worth 5 gold pieces, deals 1d4 bludgeoning damage, weighs half a pound, is a light thrown weapon that returns to the thrower when thrown, and has a range of 30 to 120 feet. At the 20th level, the damage is increased to 5d4. So sure, it seems to be a bit of a niche weapon at first, seems to be not one of the greatest ranged options in your arsenal, but at 20th level with that spike in 4 hit die, it becomes a verifiable threat. Next we have Tides of the Moon. As an avatar of the great moon god Khonshu, fire has little effect against you. You now resist fire. So I couldn't really think of a good name to convey, like, moon stuff and being resistant to fire, but apparently that's a power he has. I looked it up and found out he apparently has resistance to fire, so there it is, you now resist fire, congratulations. Alright, next up we have Travel and Trap from the Spectre's arsenal. As a means of quick travel, you are granted a grappling hook, or a 4-pound 4-way hook attached to a rope shot out of a gun that costs 2 gold pieces. A grappling hook can secure the rope to a battlement, window ledge, tree limb, or other protrusions. A lariat, also known as a lasso, is an exotic ranged weapon worth 1 gold piece, and that weighs a pound. It is a special weapon that has a range of 10 to 30 feet, and grapples a large or smaller creature upon hitting them. A lasso cannot grapple a creature that is formless. A creature can use its action to make a DC 10 strength check, freeing itself or another creature within its reach on success. Dealing 5 slashing damage to the lasso, which has an AC of 10, also frees the creature without harming it, ending the effect and destroying the lasso. When you use a bonus action, or reaction to attack with the lasso, you can make only one attack regardless of the number of attacks you can normally make. At 20th level, you can use your grappling hook to shoot or grapple a target. If shot at them, the hook deals 1d4 bludgeoning damage. If grappling them, it also follows the same rules as the lasso and the bola. So the name Travel and Trap is not deceiving in any way, shape, or form. It is pretty clear cut, as are most of these really when you have them explained to you, though I suppose hindsight is 20/20. And I do not want to go back to 2020. So, yeah, you literally just gain a grapple gun and a lasso. And the grapple gun and lasso both, for the most part, follow the same rules as the bola, so you now have more trap and restrain options. With, of course, the addition of the fact that the grapple gun will help you get around a lot faster, seeing as most of the traveling you're going to be doing is on foot. Well, that is until you get access to your angel wing. But before we get to the angel wing, we'll discuss the Sansetsu Cone, which is from the Spectre's arsenal. A quarterstaff that can be broken down into 3 pieces for easier carrying, concealed carrying, or other things of that nature. At 18th level, you gain the Staff Combat Boost, and your staff now deals 9d6 damage instead of 1d6. At 20th level, you can slam your fully extended Sansetsu Cone into the ground to create a shockwave with a range of 10 feet that deals the same damage, but it is now force damage. To avoid this, targets must pass a DC 10 dexterity saving throw. So of course, to start, it's just a normal quarterstaff that you can break down, again, for concealed carry or for easier carrying. It can be broken down into 3 pieces, and of course, it can just as easily be reassembled. It doesn't require any time or anything. If I remember correctly, it's literally a string that hangs out of one side of the staff, and if you let the string go slack, all 3 pieces will fall apart, but if you pull the string tight, the quarterstaff comes together. But the real strength of this is when you get to level 18 and level 20. At level 18 you get the Staff Combat Boost, which now you're dealing a max of 54 damage per strike with this quarterstaff, which is pretty damn good. Now of course, by the time you get to 18th level, you're probably going to be fighting against a lot of things that are resistant or possibly even immune to non-magical damage, so of course you're maybe not looking at that whole 54 damage, but if you're not fighting something that's resistant, this is going to be a damn powerful staff. And of course you get that special attack at level 20, you get that Staff Slam where you can create like the shockwave, and although the range is a bit small, it doesn't do any additional damage, and the DC to avoid it is pretty easy, it is nice to have an AoE attack with just a normal weapon. And the last thing we gain from the Spectre's arsenal are his grenades. When you gain this class feature, you are granted 5 flashbangs and 5 hypersonic grenades from Konshu. Because y'all already know by now, that boy Konshu stay packin'. This man is more of an arms dealer than he is a god at this point. But regardless, more can be made with 20 gold pieces of alchemical ingredients and 10 hours of work per grenade of either type. A flashbang inflicts the blinded effect on anyone within 80 feet facing the direction of the grenade, with their eyes open for 1 round. Hypersonics deal 8 force damage to anybody within 40 feet and stun them for 1 round. Yeah, hard flex right here. There is no saving throw for being blinded or being stunned by either of these grenades. They may not be that impressive in terms of effect or damage, but it's fairly impressive that there's just no way to save against these grenades, because lo and behold, in real life, it's pretty damn impossible to have a flashbang go off in your face with your eyes open while looking at it and not be blinded, and it's just as hard to not take any damage from a hypersonic blast to the face. And penultimately, we finally gain access to his special vehicle, the Thanos Copter. Wait, that's the other guy. The Angel Wing. You gain access to your Angel Wing, a small glider vehicle contraption that allows for sustained flight when taking off from a peak of 50 feet or higher off of the ground. This vehicle can also magnetize metal within 10 feet if you choose to activate said feature. So I mean, what can I say? It's a really cool looking glider. It can fit 2 people, but you have to be 50 feet or higher off of the ground for it to take sustained flight. And of course it has its magnetizing feature, but since it only has a range of 10 feet, I don't know how useful it's going to be, but if you were to, say, get into aerial combat and you were to drop a sword or a shield or something really important, you can use your magnetism for a range of 10 feet to catch it. So that's our little vehicle. And of course now you'll finally be able to take advantage of your vehicle mastery class feature if you hadn't been able to do so thus far into the campaign, in which case, buddy, I feel bad for you because you are at level 19, which means you have probably either beaten the campaign or your campaign is running a little too long. Alright, and next up is our last class feature, ladies and gentlemen. After so long, we've finally made it. Lunar Eclipse. As an act of the very will of Khonshu itself, you throw a cascade of Crescent Darts around you in a tidal wave that moves out omnidirectionally. The attack you gain from this class feature requires none of your personal stash of Crescent Darts, and enemies within 100 feet must pass a DC 25 Dexterity saving throw or be hit by 7 Crescent Darts. These darts will bounce off of nearby objects, people, or the floor, ceilings, and the walls for 4 rounds, with those within range needing to make the Dexterity save each round. This can only be used twice per complete moon cycle. So of course, the last class feature you gain, it's really strong, really powerful, kind of broken honestly. I mean, it's not that bad. It only takes you, like, if you use a dash action, it only takes you 2 rounds to get out of range. But still, that's 2 dexterity saving throws, and that's 2 times you don't get to take a turn. So that is pretty rough. But of course, that is for the average person. There are some people that could make it out in 1 dash action. But regardless, of course, that is pretty rough. The damage is hard to deal with, the dexterity saving throw is hard to pass, and it just keeps going for 4 rounds. But of course, the balance to it is that it can only be used twice per moon cycle. And of course, you have to get to level 20 to gain access to this. But all in all, I'd say it's a very fitting attack for the closer for this class, for all of its pretty powerful class features and everything it gains through the Spectre's arsenal, and just class features in general. So, JDs and Lentilmen, I hope you enjoyed the video, I hope you enjoyed the homebrew, and I hope your DM lets you use this homebrew in your classes if you should choose to use it. If you liked the video, my commentary, or the homebrew class, let me know by leaving a like. Your likes and support of the channel are greatly appreciated, and they help this channel grow. Subscribe if you enjoy Marvel content, Dungeons & Dragons content, or my beautiful sultry voice. You can stick around on the channel and become part of the family, and hit that notification bell if you want to know when videos are coming out. The bell will let you know when videos drop, and you'll be able to watch them as soon as I release them. Leave a comment in the comment section down below if you have a specific character you'd like me to cover in an overview, or make a Dungeons & Dragons homebrew build of. I have lots of plans to do lots of different characters from lots of different franchises, but if you guys want me to prioritize any of them, just let me know in the comment section down below. But yeah, that's it from me. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, I hope you guys enjoyed the build, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace, guys.